Hey guys, before we jump into this new video, make sure that you click the link below in the description box, go to streamlabs.com and actually check out the Awaken Show cool new merch where you can find shirts like I'd Probe That, It's Probing Time, and Alien Lives Matter. We also have some cool new hoodies just in time for the winter and Christmas holidays, so make sure that you cop a gift for your friends and yourself. And with that being said, on with the show. I want to ask you. Let's go into this incident here. So you guys go on this fishing trip. What happens then?
We when we left the shipyard, we went by to get our fishing equipment, and he said, "I know a place over here," which was the old grain elevator then, and we tried it there. Now I don't know if you know how Louisiana bugs are, but they got a mouth bigger than their body. You can't see them, but they'll eat you up. So we had to leave there. We went to the old abandoned shipyard, the Shaw Peter shipyard, and we walked out on the pier. And this being my first day building ships, I was sitting on this pier looking across the river. My car was parked behind me, and it took a while to get down because of the debris and everything to the where we was gonna fish. And I remember looking at a ship, and this ship was made out of steel, and I was thinking, now how does something made out of steel, thick steel, float like these things did? It was a big old Coast Guard ship or Noah's ship. And that's when I noticed some hazy blue lights coming from my back. And it actually, I thought we were trespassing on private property and they was there to run us off. So I stood up and turned around and looked to see if the law was fixing to come get us. And Charlie stood up about this same time. And I told him, I said, "You're going to have to bail me out of jail, if we go to jail for trespassing." Oh, we're not going to go there because I fish here all the time. But that's when I seen we was both standing there looking, being nosy to see where the blue lights was coming from. And that's when all of a sudden a bright spotlight just shined on us. And it was so bright that it kind of blinds you for just a minute. And then before I could get my sight back, and Charlie could, there was three robotic looking creatures that was down upon us. Well, two of them had got a hold of Charlie, and I still couldn't make out the facial distinction until later because of the blinding light. And one got a hold of myself.
So you go fishing at Shaw Peter shipyard,
Yes, sir.
and you see this light reflecting off the water. And
Right, a hazy blue light.
and you think it's the police, but you turn around and it's a UFO, it's a spacecraft.
Yes, sir.
Calvin, at this point, how much did you want it to be the police officers at that time?
Oh gosh, I would have give anything. Matter of fact, I was a strong swimmer, and I looked to the front of me and it was water, and to the side and water, and then to the other side and it was water, and we didn't have no time to run. But I would have scattered now. They wouldn't have been nothing but footprints there if I could have found a place to run.
Okay, I'm so sorry to interject, but I just wanted to clarify that there. So
No, that's great.
you see this light, these beings are pretty much upon you at this time. So what happens from there?
Okay, so two of them, we was standing up looking at the craft by then, or what, really couldn't make it out because of the bright light. But I noticed there was three bulky looking creatures that was coming toward us. I mean, they were big, looked like Green Bay Packers fixing to tackle you. So these things levitated us off the ground. Well, they took me on board first, and just kind of levitated up about 2 foot. And we didn't have to walk through the marsh grass or nothing. And they got me to the door, and that's when I noticed, started looking for where the lights was coming from,
Hmm.
and they was actually illuminating out of the walls. I mean, it wasn't like a big light bulb out there shining on you. The lights was coming from inside the craft out of the walls. So
Interesting.
that's the first thing that I noticed that really shocked me.
Did you get a chance to see what the door looked like on the spacecraft?
The door was open when we got there.
Was it a oval shape? Was it a rectangle, square shape?
I would say it would be more of a oval shape,
Hmm.
to kind of fit the craft, because the craft was oval shaped too.
Oh, okay. All right. And so they take you on to this craft. And again, I'm so sorry to interject, but what happens from there, Calvin?
Well, when we got to the hallway, now I didn't see Charlie none on the craft until we got back out. He made a left turn, and his movements, this creature's movements, was robotic, and that's why I say he was probably a robot.
Hmm.
And we went down a hall a little ways, and he kind of turned right, and there was a glass table in there. I won't never forget it. That was a beautiful table,
Hmm.
but I was scared to death. And he laid me on an angle on this table. I'm going to say about a 45-degree angle. And I couldn't move. He didn't have to strap me down or nothing right then.
Wow.
So this thing backed up in a corner and shut down like you threw a switch on him, like a jack in the box, just went back in and rested. And that's when I seen how big and ugly he was. Um, I called him the big ugly one. Well, while I was on this table, though, uh, I heard something, and I turned. I could roll my head then, but I couldn't move my body, and I could roll my eyes. And this, what I call a fairly attractive woman, now I don't know if it was a woman or a man or what it was, came out. And the only thing I could tell different on her is her middle fingers. Her two middle fingers was longer than the rest of her fingers.
So if I walked out and seen this person or this female, would I be able to discern that it was from another world?
I don't believe you would. Now I don't know if she was in disguise or had been trained to do what she did, and maybe she had on some kind of disguise so she wouldn't scare me. But she was pretty well versed, in what she was doing. I didn't notice any breast or anything on her. And I could sense that it was a woman, just the same way, a man can sense a woman, and a woman can sense there's a man. Now, living right here close to New Orleans, that's a pretty good little thing to pick up. And
Absolutely.
most of your better looking women are men. If you see a real knockout woman on Bourbon Street, and you can bet that that's usually a man, and that's the sense that I got from her. But I felt like she was a woman.
Interesting. So this woman comes out of this area, and does she talk to you? What happens from there?
Well, the first thing she did, and I'll never forget this, was kind of like your grandmother would come up and grab you by the cheek and feel your skin. Now, I couldn't tell any difference in the skin tone, the coolness or warmness or anything like that, but she kind of just pinched my cheek a little bit. Then she took her left hand and put on my chin and pushed it down to open my mouth, and took her two middle fingers and run down my throat. Um, I don't know what they call the little hang me down phone thing
I
in the
I,
back of your throat.
I know exact. I don't know the name of it too, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that little thing that hangs down. She seemed like she was curving her fingers up to go into my nasal cavities. And I got to hurting. I got to breathe where I couldn't breathe. And I got to bleeding. And she just automatically pulled her hand out and telepathically communicated, "We don't mean you any harm." And I thought, now this is weird. She said we. I don't know if she meant this big ugly one or there's somebody else back there. But I started bleeding real bad out of my nose and out of my mouth. Um, it was just a terrible, lot of pain there.
So this thing basically examines you, violates you, and
Oh,
then,
way violated. I had a sore throat for a long time after
oh my God, that sounds horrible, Calvin.
that. And was bleeding. I couldn't stop the bleeding.
So
Well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, that's fine. She took her hand out, and that's when she just telepathically said, "We don't mean to harm you." And I was thinking to myself, it's a little too late there, woman. So that's not what I didn't think woman. I thought the B word, you
Right,
know.
right. Which you should have. So she does this examination on you. She communicates with you telepathically. Telepathically, what's going on in your mind at this time that all this is happening?
Well, I had that what I call my go to hell shot that this other one gave me. He injected it when he picked us up. I kind of left that out
Hmm.
because I didn't think about it. But I got an injection, and Charlie also got an injection. And when we was laying on the table, I was just kind of zoned out. I really didn't care too much
Hmm.
till the pain started. And actually, when she got through with her finger examination down my throat, she made a noise like an alligator grunting, like it went goon, goon. And this big ugly one that was standing in the corner jumped up again like a jack in the box,
Wow.
come over and grabbed me by the arm. And that's when I heard a little puff of air. And later on, we found out in the emergency room I was injected twice that night because there was two needle marks. Or the doctor really didn't say needle marks, but it was like an air injection
Hmm.
where it just where they inoculated a lot of people and they just walk by and they stick you and they don't have to use a number. They just blow a lot of air pressure in there and put the medicine in your system.
So there were physical evidence, physical marks of
Yes,
something that
sir.
happened to you.
Oh,
Okay.
definitely. Yes, sir.
And you mentioned that table, which I think is very interesting. When you were on this table, did you notice any markings or anything of that nature on it?
No, I didn't. The only thing that I noticed when they first laid me down, I was laid on my back looking at the ceiling, and there was something about the size of a deck of cards. It was kind of blue underneath, and it came down and stopped about a foot and a half from my head. And then it started rotating around my head. And as it would go around, it would click. It would go click, click, click. Then it come up right between my eyes and stopped. It shot back up into the ceiling, just disappeared. And that's when she came out.
And this was floating in midair. There wasn't anything
I,
discernible that it was hanging from.
I didn't see anything like that. That could have been, but I didn't see anything.
Okay. So eventually, you guys are taking off this craft.
Yes, sir. When she summons that big ugly one to come over and got me, and he gave me that other shot. That's when they took me back out, stood me up almost where they had picked me up, and my arms were stretched out facing the water, and I was standing, and Charlie was laying on the ground by me trying to get up, and he was saying, "Calvin, Calvin, you okay, son?" And I thought, well, no, I'm not okay. I just went through some big dramatic stress thing here. So that puts us out on the ground.